It is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. We are looking back at week 4 TFFL action, looking ahead to week 5. We're getting into the heart of the season here. Some headlines this week. We got 2 4-0 teams, Amsterdam Packers, Slippery Beavers, extending to 4-0. We talked a lot last week, or the last couple of weeks, I guess, about the Senators and their bad quarterback decision. Cam Newton instead of Tom Brady. They made another one this week. Kyle Allen, 0 points in a fill-in role instead of Marcus Mariota on the free agent market. Mariota had 22. Didn't quite make the difference, but we'll pick on the Senators a little more anyway. Hey, bye week starting to ramp up. Had a few in week 4, but this is going to become a bigger and bigger issue here in the middle of the season. That gets compounded with injuries, and the 2 big ones I'll note, relatively big, at least by the length of the injury. The Giant Killers basically losing backup quarterback Mitchell Trubisky. I don't know what the timetable is on that. I don't think he's having season-ending surgery, but I think Trubisky's out for a while. Senators losing John Ross, who actually went on IR today, out for I think at least 8 weeks now. Ross had been playing well as an option for the Senators. Worth noting, Terry flagged this in his commissioner's report. The Devils started an inactive Rashad Penny in week 4. I don't know what the full story is there either. Maybe we can flesh that one out, but worth noting. And then some good news for 2 members of the panel. We talked a little bit about this last week, but the Aliens getting stud running back Melvin Gordon back. I don't know for sure, but I expect him to play for San Diego and probably to play for the Aliens this week. And reports today that Saquon Barkley, initially out 6 to 8 weeks, maybe much earlier than that, coming back, already jogging around, I believe, and way ahead of schedule for Hank.
Let's hope so.
That would mean a lot to your season to get him back, say, 4 weeks earlier than expected.
Absolutely.
Whenever we can have him, we'll take him.
All right. So, hey, Berto is not with us this week, but let me do the panel introductions. Terry, our commissioner for life, perhaps.
Congratulations, by the way. That's a big honor.
Yes.
But really, hey, outstanding job with the essential documents. I don't want to discourage that. That's great that comes out so quickly. Former commissioner, skipper of the Sponge Fishermen, Chief.
Howdy.
Former commissioner, czar and CEO of the K-Wheels, Hank.
Good evening, all. Happy to be here.
All right. Let me give you a trivia question to get us started. I think I owe you guys an easy one, so it doesn't get much easier than a true or false.
I don't know.
You got at least a 50-50 shot. So we'll talk more about the Dirt Devils later, but I'll have a Dirt Devils themed question here for you to start us off. The Devils won multiple Packed Bowl titles in the first decade of the 2000s of this century.
True.
That is true. True or false? Priest Holmes was part of that team every time they won a title.
Wait, every time?
True or false?
I had to guess. I'm guessing.
All right, Hank. TFFL standings. We're pretty much a third of the way through the season.
Yeah, right on. I'm going to take advantage of our little ability here and do that. Here we go. All right, standings through 4 weeks. Beavers and the evil Packers Empire at 4-0. Looking good, though, thus far. Sponge Fishermen, Lizards, looking good. 3-1, standing right there. All right, so middle here, just a little stumbling back. The Wheels, Aliens getting to 2-2. Fats and Hams, standing right there. And now we get into the less exciting area. Terry, Berto. But this is where you really don't want to be. Devils, Senators. You said we're going to talk about them tonight, but is it already too late at 0-4? I mean, at 1-3, you're hoping you can get a couple of wins and put it back. Here, you're feeling like, you're just getting going. You're feeling really good up here. If you're 0-4, Time to get testy.
Well, Nick in particular at 0-4 is four games out of first place in his division because the Beavers are one of the 4-0 teams. Yeah, he's got some digging to do. Did it really hurt that much to type Amsterdam Packers 4-0?
Yes, it does. It hurts every time. It hurts.
Good for Ralph. I like seeing him engaged. We need a villain.
No, the league is better with an engaged AMPAC. I just don't want them to be very good.
And let me tell you the corollary. The Devils are very bad, but they're more active now too. It's like they get more worse their team gets.
Well then, Nick, pipe up, buddy.
Yeah, just an observation. All those years he was good. We'd get like 2 emails a year from him. Now he's 0-4 or whatever he is, and seems like several times a week we get the Nick one-liners.
He's babbling. He's got kids that are about ready to leave the house. He's starting to need friends again.
He's going to have at least one kid in the house, I think, for another 10 plus years.
So that's true. That's true.
All right, Terry, we missed you last week. I'm sure you've got lots of notes and reminders saved up for us. As
Tons. Admonitions, I can't even say it, and musings. I'll only say one thing. I know it was mostly tongue-in-cheek, but let's not even let ourselves ponder a commissioner for life. That's over. Rich Berkman's our next commissioner. That's happening. Otherwise,
you're looking. How many days left?
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly how many days. I think I have 8 or 9 commissioners' reports left. Those you can start ticking off. No, but anyway, I think we've had a great start to the season. Big slate of games coming up this weekend. And the story of the year is the year of the backup quarterback in the NFL, or former backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, well, let's get chatting, and we'll start by picking on one of our panelists here. This question came up in the TFFL.com chat this weekend. How important is it to draft your stud running backs handcuffed, if possible? Sure. And in other words, how badly did the K-Wheels screw up by not drafting Wayne Gallman as the backup to Saquon Barkley? They could have done that with even just a 13th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Berto, I know, had a quick response to this, but what do you guys say? And let's start with Hank. Hank, was it even a consideration for you?
You guys fire. I'm very good in my stance and my reasoning on this. So I was going to let you guys spin it all up, and then I'll tell you what I think. No?
Well, yeah, sure. It's easy to say after the fact, you want to get the guys handcuffed. I think sometimes people reach on handcuffs sometimes when they don't need to. I don't know. I'm not too critical of Hank for not picking up Gallman, although, if he had a spot, he could have got him in the 13th round. It was possibly worth it, but I'm not too critical about it.
Well, I'm looking at the draft right now to see, who the Wheels opted to take instead.
I'll tell you, I took Jordan Scarlett in the 13th round, and that easily could have been Gallman. And, we'll
there you go.
So it could have been.
Right. That's okay. So I won't go through it all. But, yeah, I think it's – unless you have, a flush full of running backs, I think you kind of have to back up your starting running backs, because if they go down, who are you going to get to carry the ball? All the other running backs are taken. So it seems to me the only way to ensure that you have, 3 starting running backs in case of injury. We're in the NFL now where most backups are off the board in the 5th or 6th round because there's so many part-time running backs. You always got Jordan Scarlett's in the same position as Wayne Gallman. Really, he was a backup to someone who never leaves the field. So it's interesting that Hank went the other way and played for a McCaffrey injury instead of backing up his own guy in case of injury. I think it was an error.
Okay. Stick, you want to ring in?
I'll just state some obvious caveats. It's not a slam dunk every time. I, for instance, couldn't take Austin Eckler. Didn't even have a chance. Sometimes it's just not possible because the handcuff guy is so good or has some opportunity, as Eckler did at the start of the season. Other times there may not be a clear-cut handcuff, and then it's not worth just trying to accumulate 2 or 3 backups to your stud. I suspect one of your issues with not taking Gallman is that's not a great Giants team aside from Barkley.
All right,
not a great offensive line. Whereas in Dallas, for instance, if Zeke Elliott goes down, Tony Pollard, you're really thinking is probably going to do pretty darn well. So,
all right. So you hit on that's a good segue because that's one of my first comments is the Giants are a terrible football team. I do not need any more shares of the Giants than Saquon. He's the franchise. If he goes down, they really stink. And Daniel Jones is exciting, and I guess that's wonderful. And yes, of course, as I sit here today, do I wish I had Gallman? Of course. At the same time, when I'm sitting there having the draft and a team that is rebuilding, I definitely do not feel as though I am a packed bowl favorite this year, coming off 2 years removed from drafting Saquon Barkley. I'm trying to build a team. I'm trying to get studs. Wayne Gallman is not a stud. I had him last year. He's a fine backup, and he's a pedestrian journeyman. Jordan Scarlett was a new guy who I read a little bit about in training camp and showed some burst and some excitement, and who the hell knows? McCaffrey can go down just like Saquon can. So that was my thinking, and I just, yes, I wish I had Gallman, but I'm not unhappy that I have Darrell Williams either, though. I kept 4 running backs too. I wanted to believe that some of these younger guys would become playable, like Ronald Jones, for example. So, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Maybe I should have taken him, but I'm comfortable with where I'm at.
Good. And just, so I've been saying that the aliens with Melvin Gordon coming back, I'm happy to be 2-2 without Gordon. Hopefully for you, Barkley's only out for another 2 weeks. Squeak out, or even if it's 4 weeks, go 2-2. Just keep things going until he comes back.
Yeah. No, it switches your mentality. When he goes down, my only hope is to stay relevant until he gets back. And hopefully Watson doesn't have a lot of other games like he did this last week. So we'll see.
All right. Let's pick on the Dirt Devils now. Let's do a little early season autopsy. I had said last week that it was too early to put a fork in anybody. We'll decide here together whether we can put a fork in the Devils. They're 0-4. They're 4 games out of first place. This was a team that I reported back in August was that Nick was going to be active in the trade market. He turned out he pulled off a trade with Chief, dumping James White. But in my conversations with Nick, one quote still rings in my head. He was so excited for himself. He said, "Stick, I think I finally got it all figured out." And he started talking about quarterbacks, and he stuck to his plan. He let Kirk Cousins go. He didn't keep a quarterback. Smart moves.
What was he doing when he was winning packed bowls if he didn't have it figured out then?
He was gifted LaDainian Tomlinson. The K Priest gave the Devils a series of titles.
And Priest Holmes.
Yeah.
And he was trying to trade for Lamar Jackson, and then ultimately decided not to, and targeted him early in the draft. Lamar Jackson is the number 2 ranked quarterback. 24 points a game so far this year. We've talked a lot about Nick having a great 2018 draft, rebuilding with Phillip Lindsay and George Kittle, Calvin Ridley, Rashad Penny for what he's been worth. And yet here we are, the Devils are 0-4. what has gone wrong and what is the prognosis? Is this franchise as bad as they look right now, or are they really a much better team as we've seen over the last year or so?
Well, I'm going to pop in here because I can go to the fridge and get another beer. There's really three things here. And it's they're guys, they're all fall in the category, two of them anyway. The guys aren't getting the opportunity, right? Philip Lindsay's a part-time player now. He's actually getting out-touched by Royce Freeman, which I think is ludicrous on Vic Fangio's part, to take a guy who did so well last year and sticking behind the guy who didn't do so well last year. Stephon Diggs is useless. He is utterly useless right now. At least Thielen's game translates a little better to a team that whatever Minnesota's running right now. A little shorter possession kind of guy. Deception is better than athleticism. And just George Kittle. But that's nothing with George Kittle. He's just a simple regression is going to explain George Kittle. I mean, last year he was like Travis Kelce, what a statistician say, one standard deviation away from Travis Kelce. I mean, and now he's just merely a really good tight end, a top 5 kind of guy. But I think Diggs and Lindsay are really killing this team right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Kittle set the all-time record for yardage by a tight end.
By a tight end, that is correct.
Regression almost had to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything Chief said, and I think you got to throw James Conner in there as well, who is, kind of emblematic of the Steelers' offense struggling as a unit. I mean, they haven't blocked that well until, the Wildcat dink and dunk offense the other night. But I think Conner has been a disappointment fantasy wise for the first third of the season as well.
He has. I hope the Devils' woes continue at least for one more week. I got him this week. And I'd really like to win. So Nick and Devils players can just lay down one more week. That'd be great.
I think the answer to what has gone wrong here is almost everything, as you guys have said, other than Lamar Jackson. Lindsey has underperformed. Rashad Penny continues to not really take that job from Carson. Connor has underperformed. Diggs, Kittle, Ridley to some extent. Josh, what has Josh Gordon done after Nick took him in the first round? Not much. 9 points in week 1, and that's about it. A lot has gone wrong for the Devils. But real quick, I feel like we've had this conversation several times over the last few years. The Devils have started slowly. Nick finds a way, believe it or not. I think he digs out of this hole a little bit. He's only 2 games out of a wild card. The division may be out of reach, but I'm not counting out the Devils for the wild card quite yet.
Yeah, that's the thing that we can't be talking about because they're not going to start their winning streak this week.
All right.
I also think that Lamar Jackson is very likely to regress a little bit. I mean, we talked last week about Patrick Mahomes carrying, the hams. That's sort of the situation we are right now with the Devils. But, and is Jackson going to improve as an NFL quarterback? Sure he is. Of course he is. At the same time, defense, you got to understand what he does well and what he does poorly and how to minimize the damage he does. I think right now there's not a whole lot of, for lack of a better word, a book on him, right? But they'll get it. The second half of the season won't be as easy for him. So I think the rest of Nick's roster is going to get better, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Jackson come back down to the pack a little bit. I don't think he's going to be a number 2 or even number 3 or 4 rated quarterback, by midseason.
I may be a little biased in that I drafted him and also signed him as a free agent last year. I like Jackson. I think he can continue. I think the bigger issue with him may be the injury risk as a frequent runner. And obviously, if Nick lost Jackson, he'd be in a lot of trouble. I'm glad you brought up the hams real quick. This was another headline I suppose we should bring back up. We flagged last week how few 10-point performances they're getting up and down their lineup, how much they rely on Pat Mahomes at the top of the lineup. Two problems in week 4. Again, nobody in that lineup with 10 or more points, including Mahomes. He had a clunker of a game with 8. The Hams lose, only score 32 points. They need to get more out of their lineup.
Well, they ran into a Fats team that got their typical Rams performance as they
Yep.
do. It wouldn't necessarily have mattered, but yeah, they did not have one guy in double digits, which is never going to be a good thing.
Been doing that all season long. Yep. All right. I'm going to dare to bring up a sort of a non-fantasy topic, but I think we might have an interesting discussion on this. We saw this past week, I think there were at least 3, probably many more, but at least 3 that I can remember, violent head-to-head hits with, to me, some intent of, actually delivering a crushing blow. These were not accidental hits. I think it was Peter King who made the point that 2 of those hits came. What was it on the Philly Packers game in prime time, early in that game as everybody's tuning in. How there's so many retirements, so many times you hear parents saying they don't let their kids play football. Are we getting to the point where the game is going to be diminished by the lack of quality players who want to play it? Is it, in this era of MMA, I guess nothing is too violent. But I can see the NFL becoming a flag football league that we all love to watch potentially in 20 years or so. What's your? Is this a problem? These head-to-head hits in particular. I'm not worried about the speed and bulk of the players and the violent hits on quarterbacks so much as I'm worried about the targeted head-to-head hits.
All right. In an effort to not let this go on for an hour, because it could. This is a huge topic, and I do think that there is a real threat to the future of football as we know it around this. It starts with the reality that, yes, parents today are going to wonder, am I really going to let my kid play football? Are you sure you don't want to do something else? And high school particularly are going to start having a hard time ensuring their football programs and the kids on the field, because injuries are going to happen. A kid's going to get paralyzed and sue the school district, and it'll cost tons of money. And these things will start happening in bad ways. With if the CTE research comes out that says this, there's going to become a lot more pressure on it. And so, yes, fewer kids are going to play it. The top athletes, still may want to. There's so much money involved in playing this game that, certain guys probably still want to do it. But, yeah, it's probably going to have to change dramatically in order for it to stay the biggest sport.
Well, I'll tell you, my son wants to play now.
I was going to ask.
And he's 11. Since he wanted to go for his junior high team. And I said no. I told him that if he wants to still play when he's in the 8th grade, maybe we can do that. I'm still going to try to stir him onto keeping in soccer instead if I can. If he really wants to play, I'll let him. I'll probably give him 1 concussion, and then you're out. We don't know a lot about the brain. It's definitely kind of fragile when you're young, and it gets less so as you're an adult, but still fragile, as you can see in the NFL. As far as the NFL, I think there'll always be, certainly not in our lifetimes, I think there's always going to be enough people, the rules keep changing, to try and get hits out of the game. The first thing I do is get some sack, man. Vontaze Burfict should not be in the NFL. In fact, he should be in jail. He should have been arrested for assault and be in jail. People talk bad about hockey for all these years, and they have a point. That's just, naked aggression and hits to the head and actual fist fights. Those hits in the football field have to be so much worse for the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. There's got to be enough accidental. There's got to be enough quarterback slides late. Good example, the Bills-Patriots game last week, where the quarterback got tackled and his helmet smacked into the Patriots guy's helmet. There's enough accidental stuff without getting into the targeting stuff. But I think you just got to get people like that out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the game at any level is overrun with thugs. I think there's a couple. I think football will survive. I don't think it's going in our lifetime. It's going to go into flag football. If it does, I'll still watch it.
Yeah, I think it could be a great product.
I think seeing world-class athletes playing football would be fantastic.
Maybe they wouldn't get hurt so much,
I'm too nervous right now.
Mike Greenberg had a really good point this week, which I totally agree with. I want to see the players who love to complain about how the NFL doesn't care about their health, and the players need to step up more and say Burfict's out. Good for the NFL for banning him for the year. I want to see the players step up and say what Chief just said. This is not playing football. This is assault. And when these guys do it, we're calling them out on it. And we don't want teams to sign guys like these, and whatever you can do to influence that behavior out of the game.
Listen, you have a union. Why is the union going to try to get his suspension reduced? That's absurd to me. This guy's out there deliberately injuring members of the union, and you're going to try to get his suspension reduced?
Right.
Yeah, he's not good. I mean, obviously the game's going to have to adapt with the science that we've got, and it already has done some things. Hockey was a good example, and Chief brought that up. They've done a lot to really get the really ugly fighting out of the game. It still happens a little bit, but it's not nearly what it was in the 80s and 70s. And so can football evolve in that manner? Sure, it can. It's just going to have to figure out how to do that. I've always liked the idea of take away the helmet, because if you take away their helmets, they're not going to dive at each other. And if you start making them wear, the soft helmet was how it all started, right? There'll be no going to the middle and head hunting and all that. So that would be my first suggestion.
I can see that in a flag football league where they've got a soft helmet, and where you actually get to see the players' faces as you do in all other sports. It'll make them
wear some kind of shell protector. I'm not saying that. I'm saying those are the way the helmet is now. Is it's a weapon.
Yep, totally agree.
And gives a false sense of security.
And that you're protecting your brain, which you're not.
Yeah.
Okay, so James isn't playing football. If Luke had any interest, would you let him, Hank?
Luke played flag football for 2 years. He's now playing a fairly major soccer effort right now. He's asked me about playing football, and I think my answer is yeah, I think I agree with Chief. Not until about 8th grade, I don't think. But if you want to do it 1 year, I'm going to tell him, yeah, you can do it. And the reason I'd say so is that I did that. I played 1 year, and I hated it. It sucks. Unless you like getting just blown over by dudes way bigger and stronger than you, it's not fun. So I like playing in the yard. I like playing outside with, pickup.
Right,
Let's do that. But when you bring that kind of violence into it, I'm out. And there's people who love that. I get it. There's people who love that. I like watching the MMA fights. I'll watch John Jones all day long. He's amazing. But I don't want to do it. I don't want anything to do with it. But,
Right.
I do find it interesting how as a society or a culture we are, getting more and more outraged by the violence in football and doing everything we can to tone that down. And yet the rise of MMA and I can't watch it, but
you got to compartmentalize it. You put all the violence over here, and that's where it is. And then over here, we're going to play a game, and the game is going to, have people get knocked down, and we're going to have some collisions and that kind of stuff, but we're not killing each other.
So, you can see the evolution with football. Tell me, do you think we're still doing kickoffs in 10 years? I can see the NFL legislative. But yeah, exactly. Barely.
We're not, and pretty much unless there's like an intentional idea to do an onside kick or a pooch or something, which is rare. 85, 90% of the kickoffs go in the end zone?
Go in the end zone.
Yeah. So I can see that evolution getting us to a flag football again, where there are helmets of some degree, and you're going to be able to push and knock people down, but there's rules and uniform realities that make you not smack each other with the helmet. Still be great offense to watch, and like I said, just see players' faces. I think maybe fewer players on the field opens it up a little more. Great for fantasy fans. Lots of scoring.
What happens to all the linemen who are going to be out of jobs, though?
That's where you really get into it. Is
There's no rule like 275-pound players in above flag football.
Yeah, that's a good question. Trump will solve that one.
Sure he will.
Okay.
No
Hey,
politics on the webcast. No politics on the webcast. I'm angry, so let's just leave it alone.
Terry, let's start looking ahead to week 5. Give us a schedule and a game of the week.
Well, the Mongols and the Killers are at the top of the slate, kind of battling for the early season best of the worst. 0-4 Devils at the K-Wheels. The Hams and the Aliens both at 2-2 in a big game. The Senators playing the Lizards. Sponge at the Fats.
Big game.
And then the game of the week, the undefeated Beavers are playing the undefeated Amsterdam Packers in the battle of the 4-0 franchises. And as it stands right now, Bill is starting Andy Dalton in this game.
Why? Is Rodgers hurt? Did I miss something?
It's a matchup thing. I'm trying to remember here.
Green Bay
be on record that is stupid.
Green Bay plays at Dallas.
Dallas, yeah.
Cincinnati hosts Arizona.
I don't care
I
who they play.
I don't care.
I want to be very clear.
I assume you watched the Monday night game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cincinnati did not look like an NFL quality franchise. I know Bill's listening right now.
He's live.
I'd love to see people take those gambles and maybe they pay off. They do not look like they were playing in the same league as the Steelers, and the Steelers are an 0-3 team going in. It was like one of those Alabama versus Appalachian State kind of feels to it.
And Dallas is a good team that's going to score points. Green Bay is going to have to keep up. Bill's going to change. Bill will change his mind on this, and if he doesn't, it's a terrible decision.
You know, Bill, you have Aaron Rodgers on your team. You start him, period. It doesn't matter who they're playing. You start him.
You know what? Com.com has 15 points projected for Andy Dalton and 11 projected for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He's not alone.
The guru is, as we all know, is a sham. You know, it's a guide. I don't know. Maybe I'm be proven way wrong, but I'm not putting Aaron Rodgers on my bench, period.
No, and Chief makes a great point. You know, maybe if there were a better backup on the Beavers, but we all saw Andy Dalton in Cincinnati. You can't have any confidence that he's going to do much for you. Bill has to change his mind.
Cincinnati just lost another weapon, right?
Yeah.
With John Ross going down. So, yeah.
I think you have to look at this and project Rodgers is in the lineup.
I don't want anybody on Cincinnati right now.
I think he's anticipating a lot of points in that game. So.
From who?
I don't know. It'll be fun to see. I hope he keeps it.
Tyler Boyd is the receiver there. Who else? AJ Green's out.
Auden Tate. 7th round draft choice. Auden Tate is number 2.
Or where
I don't even know.
Eifert's healthy and looks pretty good.
So in bye week news, the Beavers lose Kenny Galladay this week to a bye, stud receiver. Chris Godwin looks like he's banged up a little bit. So the receiving core for the Beavers. They also have Josh Jacobs a little banged up on their bench at the moment. Marlon Mack banged up in the starting lineup. If anybody's
banged up, everyone's banged up in this team.
Yeah.
Vance McDonald's can't play.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of, it's tough looking at this with Andy Dalton in there now, but I think even with Rodgers in there, I'm leaning a little bit toward the AMPAC in this one.
Yeah, the guru has it 68-66. So,
that feels pretty good.
Feels like a tight game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Come on, Beavers, win.
But so we got our 2-4-0 teams facing off. We will be left.
Let's not forget Tyreek Hill might be come back for this game for the impact.
Mm-hmm.
Right now he's got Deontay Johnson, D.D. Westbrook in the starting lineup.
Yeah,
I think there's at least a 50-50 chance Tyreek Hill plays.
I'm not expecting Hill to be active for the Chiefs, and even if he is, maybe not active for the AMPAC. But he doesn't have a lot of options at receiver, so Deontay Johnson's not a bad play there.
Or Darren Waller might come in. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's been using Waller.
All right.
This is pretty interesting. We have the 2 undefeated teams, and they have the 2 easiest schedules so far.
I did notice that a lot of our highest scoring teams also have allowed the fewest points.
The fewest points.
And the 12th easiest or hardest schedule.
But that's to say nobody's really doing this with smoke and mirrors. Even if you're playing against weak schedules, the teams that are winning are also scoring a lot of points themselves.
Sure.
All right. Hey, let me give you a trivia answer. True or false? We spoke of Priest Holmes actually during the roundtable chat. True or false? Every single Dirt Devils title during that first decade of the century came with Priest Holmes on the line. The answer is false. Close. There were 4 titles for the Devils: 2001, 2003, 2004, and 2008. Priest Holmes had retired by 2008.
That was worth 10 points?
Let's call that worth 2 points.
That's a bullshit question. Quote our president.
Sounds like Mona Lisa Vito. That's a bullshit question.
Why would you ask the question? Who cares?
Pause attraction.
I asked the question.
The only reason that question would be interesting was if he was. Then it would be like, oh, the Devils can't win the title without him. But
I asked the question because there are those allegations from people around.
None of them were on all 4 teams. Was Danian Tomlinson on all 4? That might have been an interesting question.
I'll look that up.
Hank, mute yourself, will you?
That's next week.
Well, yeah. So the updated trivia standings now are, that's worth 2 points. Chief gets 16 now. Berto stays at 11. Hank stays at 6. And TR now is tied with Hank at 6. The guest still has 1 with Borkman.
All right, so we're wrapping up here in just under 40 minutes. We could have gone on for an hour about the future of football. We'll be back every Wednesday, back next Wednesday, October 9th. Critical week. We'll only have 1 undefeated team after this week. Got some 2-2 teams facing off, seeing which way their season's going to be trending. Hank trying to survive without Saquon Barkley.
Week 5's critical all around, man.
Yeah, I mean every week is critical.
There's a world of difference between, say, 4-1 and 3-2, or 3-2 and 2-3. It's just 3-2 and 3 and 1 and 4. And it's just, I think it's where separation's really going to start to show.
Yep. Well, now we're getting into the not division games too. We're crossing conferences, and we're going to start seeing some of the wheat and some of the chaff here over the next couple of weeks.
The Rams get Seattle tomorrow night, so I'll know pretty quickly whether or not.
That's a good game. That's a good game.
This
I don't know who to pick in that one.
One topic that I think we might talk about as soon as next week that you can start to think about is the last couple of years. We've talked a lot on the webcast about how tough it has been to execute trades during the season, because it seems like everybody has been, within a game or 2 of the wild card spot, not willing to give up on their season. this might be the year. We'll see if things change, but we've got a couple 0-4 teams that quickly could think they're totally done. We've got, I know, a couple demoralized 1-3 teams. Terry in particular with a lot of injuries he's trying to fight through. That if that ends up being 1-5, we could have 3 or 4 teams that are willing to make a lot of trades this year. We'll see.
Could happen.
We already saw one trade today, the Robbie Gould trade.
Yeah.
You didn't mention that injury at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I didn't even remember. You got Goskowski out for the year, huh?
Yeah, good call, Chief. I forgot. Yeah.
Yep.
That kind of snuck up on us, or snuck up on
Yes.
me. Terry, that was you that got a 6th round pick for a kicker.
Yes, that is correct.
Nice
Well,
work.
And I gave a 10th back. So
still.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Good value for a kicker.
and an FA pick
All right. Yeah. Hey.
Good win. That's a good haul.
to use on a backup kicker, I guess, because I'll need one in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'll trade you one for a 7th.
There you go.
All right. So, we'll be back next Wednesday. In the meantime, good luck. Again, every week is critical, but this one is the only one we're playing right now, so it's very important. Everybody do well, and we'll talk about it next week. Take care.
Right on. The TFFL.
Thank you.